What up, though? Make sure you cop Word to Hip Hop, a hip hop lexicon by Sara Allie with illustrations by Robert Wilburn. It's available on BarnesandNobles.com, SaraAllie.com, and Amazon.com. And welcome back to another installment of Baltimore County Forever Podcast. What up, though? This right here is a special episode. We have the illustrious, I always wanted to say that about somebody. It's like, we have author, travel blog, golly, she wears so many hats, man. What does Kyrie say? Orator? Is that how you say it? Orator? That's a speaker. She's a speaker. She's a speaker. A professional speaker. You do a lot. We have Sara in the motherfucking building. Orator. Yeah, that's it. Got it back. Oh man. So, Sara and I go back as far as 11-year-olds, middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
Jeez Louise. Yes, Old Court, which is now called Northwest Science and Health Middle School Academy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Forgot they changed the name.
Yes, they changed the name. Man, so so here's the thing about Sara. I admire Sara because she's so fearless. She travels the world, and if you follow her on Instagram, she travels the world. She gives you her experiences. She gives a guide of how to do these trips correctly, and it's okay to travel by yourself and with people and just to live your life. And I look to you often when we're traveling. As a matter of fact, Lauren, I think Lauren might have recently started following you. She's going to El Salvador, and she was reading your guide. Did you already get the guide for? You did.
Oh yeah.
She said thanks, girl. Yes. So man, I normally it's a couple people that I look to if somebody's asking me something that I don't know about, like traveling like outside of the country or even within the States. I normally go to your Instagram specifically because I know, oh yeah, Sara's been there. She knows what's going on with this. I don't have anything to worry about. You don't gotta ask me no questions. Here you go, right here. Like, so before we get into this great book that we now have, Word to Hip Hop, which is available on Amazon. Before we get into this book, I want everyone to know a little bit about you and your background. I just really want, you're such an exciting person, and I'm like hella excited to talk to you. If you listen to me, I'm like, yes, and this too. But I really want people to really get into who you are. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, so thank you. First, your introduction was amazing. And yes, I am a travel blogger. Used to be in fashion, still do fashion, freelance, and a writer. And what I call myself is a visual and written storyteller. So that was the fashion aspect of it. And then as well as me also being a travel blogger. And for me, I started travel blogging like 2017-ish, 2018-ish. I came back from New York City, and I felt like I needed to do something creative. And I had blogs previously, but I knew I wanted to step outside my lane and kind of, start traveling a little bit more. And so I started my blog just to tell about my experiences. And I think that's what makes my blog, or what makes me unique, is that I truly just give the experiences that I have, or my recommendations are based off of what I've experienced or someone I know experience. I typically just don't go by Google because I feel like that's what Google's there for. And so that kind of encompasses my travel blog. And then I am also a professor. I am a teacher turned professor. And essentially, that is how this book came about, is that I was teaching. This book came about me traveling and also me teaching. And yeah.
Okay, so your time in New York, how has that influenced your next step in life? You're going from fashion to going. I'm sorry. Yeah, but going from fashion to now creating a travel blog. Like, how has your time in New York helped the next step in your career?
For me, New York, I'll always say made me a woman. Like, I'll always tell people that I was in New York from 2016 to 2018-ish, about a year and a half, 2 years. And it made me a woman. I a lot on myself. Also, just learned that the biggest lesson I got is people just living their dreams out there. They're hustling, and it's not easy. And I learned about truly hard work and dedication there. But dreams you don't get to see. You know, we're from Baltimore. Dreams we don't get to see in Maryland. That I got to see people, you know, people on the subway, doctors, people on the subway. Also, like, you got celebrity fashion stylists who I work with. So you see these two dynamics or these two dichotomies of people constantly. And people, I'm going into these top magazines that we see. I'm going into Nylon, was one of the top ones I used to go into all the time. So I'm going into these magazine companies and I'm seeing people living out dreams. And I'm like, wow. And I think it really gave me a trajectory that I can do what I want to do. And no apologies for it. Or no, I also say this, you know, we come from Maryland, which the fashion industry or creative industry is hard to get into or hard to understand. And for the first time, I was like, I get it. So, yeah.
All right. So, I know when you and I have talked about, like, you know, just your journey in general. What is the typically jumping from, the fashion industry into anything outside of the fashion industry, you run into certain, not so much as hiccups, but certain things that Black people face in those different industries. So, like, with the traveling blog, how has that been for you as a Black woman?
For me, it has been, I have learned, and that's what I was saying previously with New York City, create your own lane. If someone isn't going to give you the opportunity, create your own lane. And so with the travel blogging, that's what I decided to do, is create my own lane with it. And it has its challenges. In the end of the day, I had to hustle myself. And now, because a lot of people ask me, oh, I want to blog, or, you know, everyone wants the quick money. And I tell people, no, I had to hustle. I had to learn a lot. Now I'm getting deals. Now I'm getting these things. But I was writing and I was doing pictures. I was taking video. I was doing a lot of the blogging just by myself on my own, without any backing from companies, without sponsorship. So that becomes the struggle. And then, of course, like you said, just as a Black woman, there is a lot of us now in the space, but it wasn't when I first started. So it's one of those things, like, people are like, you're travel blogging. What's that? What are you, people haven't heard about it coming from a Black woman before.
So where did your love for writing come from?
I always was a writer. So to this day, but ever since I've been like 5, I've had a journal. And I started my college career. Thought I was going to be a dentist, but that's another story for a different day. And I switched over into journalism and writing. And how I got into fashion is actually through my writing. Okay. So I got into the fashion industry, interning to be a fashion writer, and then I interned to be a fashion stylist. And that's essentially how I got into the fashion industry. But I always wrote. I just never, when it came to my fashion writing, I never put it on blast, because for me, writing has also been something like I want to talk about some, I don't want to say serious topics, but I want to talk about some interesting topics. And fashion writing was just never one of those interesting topics.
So with fashion writing, is it like you, let's say Louis Vuitton has a new collection coming out. Do you kind of like give your likes and dislikes of the collection and where do you see it selling, like the price points and stuff like that?
Yeah, so pretty much, for example, I used to do a lot of New York Fashion Week writing. So pretty much giving, what is it called? Not previews, but yeah, previews of the collection, describing who was there, what was worn, what is this, what's in season, what's out of season, you know, what's coming next, etc.
Okay, that's actually fire. I mean, stuff like that is always interesting to me because it's like I look at it like looking at when shoes come out, or it's like a conversation of like reviewing the different shoes and the same shit that I would watch on YouTube, like unboxings and stuff like that. So that's fire. That is fire.
Yeah, so that's essentially how I got started in the fashion industry. And then, so I always, in every element of my life, I always was a writer. I always had a level of writing somewhere in there.
All right, so let's get into this book, man. Let's get into this book.
Yes.
Word to hip hop. So questions. I got a lot of them. So where did the inspiration for the name come from and the cover of the book?
Yeah, so
See that.
The name came from this book, Word to Hip Hop, is essentially a coffee table book. It's not a read. I actually call it a lexicon more than a book.
Okay.
But no one knows what a lexicon is.
I ain't gonna hold you. I looked it up. I like literally before we started recording, I was like, "Hey, yo, what's a lexicon?" And I was like,
like, what's a lexicon? So a lexicon is a form of a dictionary. However, it is based on a particular subject. So, for example, there are medical lexicons out there dealing with the medical field. And so I call this a hip-hop lexicon because the subject is hip-hop. And the inspiration, so essentially the Word to Hip-Hop, the title came from it being a hip-hop dictionary, and it's the words of hip-hop. The front page, the cover inspiration is just a representation of me. And me as a little girl really learning about hip hop, loving hip hop. But for me, it was the language of hip hop. And when I say language, like I was always intent on what is that person saying. Everybody else was about the beat and I cared about the beat. But for me, it was like, yo, how are they rhyming or how are they putting this story together? That was always a thing for me ever since I've been a little girl. And so the cover comes from that inspiration.
That's fire. It's like you got the headphones, the book bag, the sneakers. Like this embodies hip hop culture, like all together. That the puffball, man. I see my daughter in this.
Yeah, and I also, the other element that I think inspires me because of, if you think of brown sugar, if you think of other, you know, a lot of people consider hip hop either their partner, right? Like either their husband or their wife or their, you know, the love of their life. If I think of Erykah Badu's song. So for me, it was kind of, when did I fall in love with hip hop? That's where that question came in for me. And for me, it was when I was a little girl. So that's kind of what inspires the cover.
How long did it take you to write the book?
It took me, so I wrote the book when I was in graduate school.
Okay.
And so it took me 4 months to
okay.
do all the research, write the book. It also then took me it took me 4 months to actually write it. And then it took me additional about 6 months for editing, fact checking, and all of that fun stuff.
I noticed I believe it was the introduction. I think it was the introduction. You were talking about the lack of information out there for involved surrounding hip hop as far as like, you know, you fact checking and stuff like that. You said you used Double XL Magazine, BET, Complex, Genius, and MTV. Do you equate that to how young hip hop still is? I know we're celebrating 50 years of hip hop, but do you think that was one of the issues that you ran into, or why you ran into that issue?
Yeah, like we are definitely celebrating 50 years of hip hop, but to your question, it could be how young hip hop is, but I think there's also a relative. I think it's more in the sense of there is no, and I think I said this in the introduction, we have to pay homage, and that was the purpose of this book.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is no enough celebration of hip hop in a academic sense where that research would be found, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
a lot of
it's not in the books in school.
Absolutely. A lot of the research that you find, or even a lot of the articles you read from Complex, etc., these first start through academics. It start by someone doing some research, and I feel like there isn't enough research being done on hip hop culture and hip hop language. I'm going to say in particular, because my book is about the hip hop language, and so yeah, that's what I believe. I believe there isn't enough history being done on it, enough research rather.
Okay. So let's see. How hard was it settling on these these 15 words? Because I know our slang, you have different cities, states, communities, like they have different slang that we use daily, but it might mean something else somewhere else. So yeah, how hard was it to narrow down to just 15 words, and how hard was it to include all regions in this book?
It was difficult to narrow it down to 15 words. That is why I put first edition.
Yes! 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 Oh my God.
That's why this is first edition.
Okay.
Because I went back and forth. Initially, I was going to include 25 words. But I said, hey, let's start with this first 15 and, see what people think about it, and then I am going to continue on. I want to make this a collection. So I want to make this a collection and eventually turn every book into this big kind of dictionary, we'll say, of hip hop. But it was very difficult to push down just 15 words. It was also a lot based off of my previous answer is research. So some of the words, it was harder to research. So what I started with and what I finished with probably was two different sets because of the research that it was involved. And for me, again, I come from an academic background, so research and accuracy is important to me. And so for me, I didn't want to put something in there that I don't have enough research for, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Or it's speculation, but it's not like, okay, this is what it is.
It's not concrete. Yeah. I one thing I love, and I love the fact that you quoted a lot of the artists and you gave them the credit. That's one part that I love. Like let's get to it. Like you had certain parts that the word was used in a lyric, and then you said who it was from and what song. So how did you settle on the artists that were pictured with each word? Like what went behind that? Like, so we have Travis Scott, obviously lit.
Yeah.
But other artists use lit a lot now too. So what made you pick, for in this instance, Travis Scott or Yo with DMX? So like how did you get to that? Like, oh yeah, I need to use him for this because he represent this song the most. Oh, I'm sorry, the word.
It was two elements. One, who represented the song the most, and basically like when I was doing my research, who kind of, because the book title is also like a hip hop lexicon, 15 hip hop words that shaped pop culture.
Okay.
So the idea is these words now becoming mainstream, and so some of the pictures and photos were about not necessarily who started the term, but who now integrated this term into pop culture. And for example, Travis Scott, lit. He was the one where it magnified after.
It's lit.
Yes. Yes. And sometimes because we love hip hop culture, and also because we are a part of Black culture, we hear these words seamlessly. However, not realizing that a lot of other culture and pop culture aren't familiar with these terms and these words until a rapper or someone in hip hop now integrates it into their song.
It's okay. In your, I believe this is in the introduction as well. Did I read it on the introduction? I might have read it somewhere else. But you were saying pretty much that in your travels, hip hop language and slang is used in other cultures, not necessarily with the same meaning. So, what country or what city have you gone to that some slang that you normally use in your everyday vocabulary doesn't necessarily mean the same somewhere else?
So I won't say it doesn't mean the same in that description. I think what I was trying to say is that pretty much it is used in the same context, but they have no idea the origin of it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's one of those things and that's also the part that inspired the book when it comes to my travels, or inspired the lexicon when it comes to my travels, is me just traveling outside the country and just seeing hip hop. I never forget being in Europe and just seeing, I think we were in Budapest, and just seeing how just the way the young, and I'm saying young, but 19, 20, 21, how they're wearing their hats, how they're wearing their coats, how they, and the language that they're using. And granted, they're using the slang that we use, so lit, for example, right? They're using these words. However, none of them have an understanding of the origin that it's coming from. They're just using it because it's cool. And so for me, traveling was the inspiration because, one, I want to acknowledge this comes from hip hop, right? This comes from Black culture, Black American culture in particular, and it also comes from hip hop. So I wanted to acknowledge that. And I also wanted us back home as Black Americans to understand that we're celebrated in a certain degree in other countries and other places by the way they're emulating us. So let's be happy isn't the word, but let's celebrate ourselves and how we talk and how we, because in academia, these are the discussions of Black English and Black language, and pretty much of, is Black English really a language type of thing? And I'm like, yes, it is. Look at how we're transforming the world right now. So yeah.
I'm on Doe now, and automatically it's I think about Biggie for some reason. I guess I'm thinking of the gambling part. Like I don't know why I associate this with Biggie, but it's dice and $300 bills. So I'm just so impressed of how this is done, the details. This is definitely a dictionary, a hip hop dictionary, and I love it.
Thank you.
Stuff like this is always cool to me because it's like I love the fact that I'm able to be like, no, I know this person. I know them. I can call them and I can have a discussion about hip hop and other things about this. Oh, this is cool. You use Finesse and you cited Lord Finesse album. Oh,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, it's really excited. I'm excited. I was really nervous about putting it out as my first.
Why were you nervous?
However, again, for me, it just combined basically where I'm at in life right now. My travels, as well as me working in higher ed and me being able to say I appreciate hip hop, I appreciate Black language, and this is something. Again, I'm calling it a coffee table. It's not this book where you're gonna learn. What you are learning is the language that we use, but it's not what I want to say, fiction book, or it's not a book where it's like, oh, I'm gonna learn all of these. I don't know. It's like I'm not telling a story.
Yeah.
This is strictly like a hip hop dictionary to be able to celebrate us using our own language.
I want to get into the distribution part of this.
Yeah.
How is that for you? Are you sitting down with the people that distribute this, or is it like Amazon does it for you? I'm not really certain
so
of how that
Amazon
goes.
does it for you.
Okay.
However, you got to do all the other work.
Okay. They send it out from their warehouse though?
They'll send it out from somewhere.
Okay.
But I had to do all the processing when it came to that. I've had, of course, do my own marketing, etc.
Yeah.
But they will send it out for you.
Okay, so I'm asking this because there is an event coming up in DC at the National Hip Hop Music Museum, I think it's called. They have an event, and it's going to be hosted by Skills that does the year wrap-ups. It's Skills and a guy that has the cards, the hip hop questions. Okay. I'm going to send you the link because I feel like that is a situation and an event that you need to be at.
Yes,
you kill two birds with one stone. You can talk to them. You can have books on hand, and hopefully that lands in the museum. I'm definitely going to send this once we get off, because I thought about you as soon as I got the book in hand. And the tickets are free, so it's on a Sunday.
That's what I'm looking for now. Now I'm looking for how to market it, obviously. And one of my goals is to get into the hip hop museums and just different small bookstores, indie bookstores as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely send me that.
Yeah, I definitely will. Man, I'm so proud of you. I know this was kind of like everywhere, but like my excitement was like boiling over.
No, I am so excited actually to be, your podcast was the first one I was going to jump on.
Oh, there we go. We made it, Brooklyn. I mean, Baltimore. Like,
I feel like, this is home for us. We are in our hometown. And I feel like there are great things here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just have to elevate and promote ourselves and build. And I'm always going to say, no matter how much I travel, no matter where I may else live in life, anybody asks me, I'm from Baltimore.
Yes.
And I'm going to rep that hard. And there are great people also like yourself who are
appreciate
continuing, like your podcast, hip hop, doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to pay homage also to each other. So
yes.
Thank you.
Before we get out of here, your fondest memory of hip hop growing up?
My fondest memory of hip hop. That's a tough one. What I will say is, and this isn't particular memory, but I just went to Deborah Lee's, she had a book signing event on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And she is, if no one knows, she is the former CEO of BET.
Mm-hmm.
And just hearing her talk made me feel so nostalgic, proud, and just, proud of hip hop. And for me, BET raised me, not in a negative way,
mm-hmm.
but BET, I loved 106 and Park.
Mm-hmm. That was our history, bro.
I went to college because of 106 and Park, because I got to see, you saw the step shows, you're seeing, a lot of different things. 106 and Park really raised me. I was 6 o'clock on the dot.
Mm-hmm.
That was me. So I want to say that is my fondest memory, and I wish the kids of this generation had that, because that was just exciting. It was exciting. 106 in Park was the thing for me. Counting down to see people on that, couch. And I think also it had a little bit to do with me and journalism and me, loving talking to people, because that's what I saw as well.
Yeah, man. 106 in Park, Cedar's World, Rap City.
Cedar's World, yes.
Hits from the Streets. We had an incredible lineup,
City.
Man.
Rap City, yes. It was an amazing lineup, and I just feel like we still need that.
Absolutely. It's social media is kind of taken away from that. For the most part, outside of social media, when you turn on the TV, we don't watch cable like that. We have all these different series on Netflix and stuff like that, so it's kind of hard for people to sit down and turn on a BET or MTV and all the besides social media. You have like the Jersey Shores of the world and the real world reality TV.
Everything has expanded into reality TV. Instead of, I still feel like we need those music shows though. I feel like that is what, I don't know. I feel like it unites the culture. I definitely feel like it unites the culture. I feel like it also gives us visuals. I think I am a big visual person as well. I love videos, and that's why I think BET was a thing for me, because I loved videos. That was a lot of my inspiration of what I was wearing to school.
Yeah, man. Coming from that era and seeing Big Tigger, I always was trying to figure out how he got these Jordans, when these are being released, or they got Cam on a day. Let's see if Cam has on pink, or if Cam has on his custom Gucci Air Forces or stuff like that. Like, so a lot of this stuff in our respective lanes has influenced us, like our everyday. Like, so, like you said, you went to college because of it.
Reminding me, there is, I want to say, I know it's in New York City currently. I don't know. I'll send you. Someone is having, one of the fashion schools is having a hip hop fashion museum up right now, or exhibition rather, up right now.
I think it's in the Bronx.
I want to say FIT. I can't remember.
I feel like, because when we were up there a couple weeks ago for the non-show, I think that was on the list, but it wasn't close to us.
Okay.
Let me see. Man, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I definitely just saw it the other day, and so that's on my list.
You know how long it's up for?
No, that's what I have to double check today.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I have to double check.
That's pretty dope, man. I hope that well, I mean, you can't do that without a Dapper Dan stuff in there. So I hope Dap is represented in that museum. But any shout outs, man, I appreciate you, making this your first stop. I normally don't do interviews, people, so but I felt like this was very much necessary. And
you did a seamless interview. This was a really, really good interview. I'm gonna shout out hip hop. That's it. Yeah, I'm gonna also, if you want to follow my journey, my Instagram is at the Sara Allie, and my TikTok is Explore, Write, Sleep, Repeat, and that is also the name of my blog, Explore, Write, Sleep, Repeat.
And I'll put that right here on the screen at some point. I was using my fingers to go back and forth. So this will be where I put all Sara information, and it will be in the bio, the description for the pod. Man, we also gotta figure out what we were figuring out over the last years.
I know.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen. Timing just hasn't presented itself.
We're gonna do it because I did not think that I would be pushing this out.
Yes, and listen, why I made the immediate effort to buy this book, because outside of it being you, I looked at that as, oh no, this can happen now. We can really do this. Like, this isn't a situation. It's like a figment of our imagination. Like, no, she really put the book out. The same book when I sat down to talk to her.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah, so
we're gonna do it.
Yeah, and
if you would have told me that I would have did this last year, I would have said no. But one of the things I'm learning, and this is just you and I talking.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I'm learning, and maybe it's this 30s thing, is that sometimes you just gotta let life kind of happen and go. And the reason why I put this out, I started teaching a class, and they basically told me, like, you can do whatever you want. And they basically was like, you can tell them whatever book. And I was like, we're going to talk about Black English and hip hop. And I was like, oh, you got a book. And literally, I was like, this is the go. So I say that to say, yes, we're on it.
Yeah, it's very special.
Like everything
very
is
special.
Coming together in that way. I think I'm in a space of just honestly letting it organically happen. And that was the situation with this book. It just organically happened. And so, yeah, I still have all of our notes.
Yes. And the last thing, Cousin Al, that's normally on the show, is actually going to Morgan for museum studies. And he is a huge hip-hop fan. So that timing and people realizing their respective dreams and how we can all come right back around to helping each other to get one common goal done. Yes, that's all. Life has the life.
He's currently in Morgan.
Yes.
Museum studies. Oh yeah.
Yes.
That is time. Like, that's magic, Corey.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I feel it.
It just took some time to get situated, and yeah, we could really get it done. We could really get it done.
No, we're gonna get it done. It's
Yes.
just timing. It's just timing. It's gonna happen. Because one is not one here, but two, even if it is, that's one of the things I've had to like get used to saying to myself is that, so what if it is? Like,
Exactly. Can't nobody do it like us.
Yeah. Like, but a lot of that, and you and I talk about imposter syndrome a lot of times too. That becomes my thing. Oh, someone's already doing it, and I have to talk about. So what?
Yeah.
Fine. No one's gonna do it like, and that's how I feel. No one's gonna do it like us.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely know it's a timing thing, and just other projects that I'm working on. I know it's a timing thing. Like, everything is combining into one thing. That's how I know.
Man, I can't wait though. So let's plug the book one last time, man. Word to Hip Hop, a Hiphop Lexicon, the first edition. So happy to see that. So happy.
Yes. My goal is in a year to have the second one.
Okay. Perfect. 15 hip hop words that shape pop culture. It's available on Amazon. Where at? Is it just Amazon?
It's on Amazon, and it's on my website. The website is saraallie.com.
Okay. Are we getting an audio book? Are we getting some audio book? Maybe in the future?
No.
No. Okay.
Only because it's not that type of book.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. It's more like of a reference book.
I've had a lot of people ask me for audio books.
Yeah.
Like,
you know we lazy sometimes.
Yeah. It's a. You need to actually just see the words and to understand. Because I feel like an audio book, it wouldn't make sense in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of like a visual, and like you go to that.
Absolutely.
This is a book that you present to someone outside of the culture to give them like a fast track. Here you go. Here's a fast track to Black culture. So I am so happy that this is available to everyone on Amazon, as well as your website. I love it. A nice golly, you really nailed it with the references, man. Curtis Blow references, Jay-Z, Missy, Travis Scott, the Jacka? Wow. Wow, rest in peace to Jacka, man.
Say that I do think, and I don't know what term I'm thinking of right now, but I do, one thing I am really proud of the book is too, because, and I did not know this book, mind you, I wrote it in like 2019, I want to say. It pays homage. It has Migos in there, all three, you know. So I think that's a classic. It has DMX in there. So I think it allows and pays homage to those who also are no longer with us.
Yes,
so
man.
I think it's gonna, to me, it's a classic because of that as well.
Nah, man, I love that. I love that, especially seeing the Jacka. A lot of people don't know who the Jacka is. Bay Area rapper. He has music with Freeway. I think a couple albums with Free. Rest in peace, Jacka, man. Shout out to the Bay, man. You know how I end this, man. Sarah, thank you so much for being on. Like I said last time, man, word to hip hop, man, a Hiphop Lexicon by Sarah, man. We appreciate you. Baltimore County Forever.